Okay, today I'm going to give you a walkthrough of Arlo, which is a product I built using Claude Code over the space of about a month. So there's actually two parts to Arlo. The first part is Arlo Central, which you can say is kind of like the control plane to manage the whole platform. And then there's also Arlo Agent as well. So Arlo Agent is what a consultant will have to run an engagement. It runs as a virtual machine. They can either deploy it in the customer's environment or they can deploy it on their laptop. And each Arlo agent will then communicate back to Arlo Central. So I'll give you all a walkthrough through Arlo Central first, just to show you the general UI and how it all functions. So the first thing you can see here is a talk to Arlo. That's where management can go in and discuss with Arlo how basically anything they want to see from all the different engagements. There's also a dashboard, so this is all the recent engagements that have been done using Arlo. So you can see the average deployment time and the amount of hours it took. We have an engagements part, which I'll come back to later on. But essentially what you do with Arlo Central is you create an engagement, and then those engagements get assigned to an Arlo agent. So this would be where you put in your delivery order number, and you'd also upload the statement of work. So then the statement of work can be used for the Arlo agent to determine exactly what needs to be done during a project using AI. There's also agent VMs. So these are the agent VMs that are deployed using on Arlo. So I just have one running in my Nutanix lab at the moment. But as more agents get deployed, you'll see them all through here, and you can see when they heartbeat and so on. There's also a skills library. So this is a really cool feature. So what this is doing here is it's taking all of our service descriptions online, and it's put them in here as a skills library. What you can do here is you can click learn. I'm not going to do it now, but what happens when you click learn is it will go to the lab environment, which is defined down here. And then what it will do is it will actually learn the services. So it'll read the service description, it'll understand how the services work, and then it'll actually do the services end to end. That's quite powerful because it can be used to ensure that the AI model is trained and knows how to do a service before the field engineers do it. We also have the SDK packages here. So what an SDK is it's basically a service delivery kit. Arlo can ingest any of our service delivery kits. You can click upload SDK here. And then when you create a project to be assigned to an Arlo agent, the SDK will then be downloaded to the agent as well. So Arlo supports reading and writing all of our service delivery kits. So for example, it can read a design document, it can read our configuration workbooks, and it can also execute against the test plans that we have deployed in there as well. And even write our as builds and so on. So this is the way a normal consultant will work. Anytime they go to a project, they will take a service delivery kit and they'll fill it in as part of their project. Arlo has automated that entire process. We also have a knowledge repo. What you can do here is you can actually search the Nutanix portal, and any of the documents that are found will be ingested into Arlo. What those ingested documents will do is they will be used for Arlo to find information. So this runs ChromaDB on the back end to ensure that the context of the AI models get quite small, because if an AI model ingests an entire document, you run out of tokens pretty fast. So this does a public portal search. I do not want to have it do an authenticated one. The reason being is because there's a lot of documentation on our portal that is internal only. So it'll be things that really need to be done by a support organization. Arlo's smart enough to try and troubleshoot by itself, but if it sees a boundary which it knows that it needs to contact support on, it'll pause and it'll say, hey, for this error, you need to contact support. I'm not going to try and fix it myself. We really don't want Arlo to be going in and doing things like writing to Zookeeper and so on, because it could go south fairly quickly. There's also lessons learned. So this is a very cool feature. So anytime an engagement is done and there is something found or something that Arlo finds that it thinks it'll be helpful for a new environment, it will create a lesson. Then those lessons learned gets pushed to Arlo Central. So you can see here for all the different deployments I've done, it's found out a lot of things itself, which it used to troubleshoot a deployment. And then it's pushed those to Arlo Central. So this means that the more deployments that Arlo does, the smarter it gets. So anytime kind of a bug or something is found on the field, Arlo will then report it to Arlo Central. The next time that deployment's done, it'll look up the knowledge base and it'll know how to troubleshoot that. So there is a lot of information on here, which is very, very valid information. There's also the pulse telemetry. So this is showing all the different completed activities, the totals, how long an activity takes on average, the amount of skills Arlo's learnt, agent VMs deployed, and so on, and also the token cost. So the tokens for each engagement are logged here, and you can see how much each engagement will cost. There's also background tasks. So this is where Arlo Central will heartbeat into all the agents and so on. And anytime the learning lab is done, it'll be pinned in here. So I can review these and it'll show the execution plans. For example, this is if Arlo wants to learn to do NCM intelligent operations design, which is a pretty crazy one. I don't really want Arlo doing any kind of design work yet. But if it had to do it, this is what it would do for it. So it'll show what it would actually do in the learning lab. So if we have another one, that might be easier. So say let's look at the NKP deployment. That one's going to be a lot smaller. Actually, it hasn't ingested that yet, sorry. And then here we have the lab environment. So these are the environments I have set up. This is where you can define anything that needs to run the lab. So I could add nodes here. And as Arlo is learning a new service, it'll use the nodes defined here to essentially set it up the way the project's done. So it can do foundation, it can deploy VMs, and so on. And finally, there's the settings page. So this is where you basically put in your AI providers, the link for the service description. So this is our public service descriptions. Arlo reads this, and this will be used for the knowledge runs that are done. You can also do different AI models for all the different tasks like documentation ingest, learning runs, chat, and so on. So most of the time I use Anthropic because their models are the best and it seems to get the best output for Arlo doing that. There's also release notes here too. So that's an overview of Arlo Central. I'm now going to set up a new engagement and run you through an engagement end to end. So we'll go back to the engagements part in Arlo Central and click new engagement. So I have an engagement here. As you can see, we have a statement of work. So any professional services engagement, right, you always start with a statement of work. So a statement of work basically defines how the project is going to run. So this is a fictitious deployment for a company called Meridian Pacific Freight Limited. And this customer wants to do a combined NUS deployment and NKP. So Arlo is going to do this service end to end for us. So you can see here, it's exactly how a statement of work would normally look. So we have different work packages defined, and we have all the different activities that are going to be needed for the project. So this is typically what a project manager will get before they do a project. And it's also a good practice for the consultant to read this too. Arlo is a good consultant, so Arlo will read the statement of work and it will define an implementation plan from that as well. So you can see we have NKP and we also have Nutanix Unified Storage. I also have a few documents in here. So Arlo can read basically any document. So I have an NKP deployment pre-delivery questionnaire. This is typically done by the customer. This basically defines all the different stuff we want for NKP. So you can see here there's a lot of things on like what AOS version and stuff we want, how much storage we have, how the IPAM's configured. So for this one, we're just going to deploy a management with a combined workload cluster. We have a few problems because we don't know how to deploy a Bastion host. So we're going to ask Arlo to do it for us. So Arlo will actually set up the Bastion for us. Most times the customer will do that for us, but we're lazy, so let's just get Arlo to do the lot. We also have a files deployment guide as well. So this is just showing a configuration for a file server, plus some shares that we want to build. So Arlo is going to do that for us. And then finally, we have the NKP configuration workbook. So this shows the configuration of the control plane nodes, the worker nodes, and so on. And again, Arlo will read all this and do the services for us. So let's start by creating this engagement. So we'll go back to here. We'll take the customer name here. So Meridian Pacific Freight. We'll put it in. And we're going to call it NKP plus NUS deployment. We want to generate our own delivery order number, and then we want to upload the statement of work. And then upload that statement of work. And you can see that it's ingested the statement of work already. And it's also matched services, which is pretty cool. So if we go create engagement, what you can see here is it's passed the statement of work for us, and it's also matched those to skills already. So you can see here it's matched it to the NKP deployment offer and the NUS deployment offer. So this is great because it means that anything that Arlo learns in the lab, it will then know how to do the services pretty easy. But as you'll see, Arlo's also very, very good at figuring things out itself. So what we'll do here is we will take this, we'll edit it, and we're going to add the API key in this. So there's two ways to add an API key. Is you can do it when you start an engagement, or you can actually do it from central. So this is really powerful because you can think of a situation where you need to allocate consultants to do different kind of deployments, and you want to take control of the API keys, right? So if you set the API keys here, you can revoke them when the project is done automatically as well. So we're going to go in here, we're going to put in this API key, which I'm going to delete after, so no one steals it. We'll go set key. So what this has done here is it's going to use Claude's Opus 4.7 model, and we put the key in here. So when we start this engagement, the consultant will already have the API key for them. So this means that you're not sharing keys with everyone. It means that Arlo Central will control the keys. So that will really help with spend as well. So we'll take this delivery order number here, and then we're going to go to Arlo Agent. So Arlo Agent is basically what the consultant will see on their virtual machine. There's two things you can do here. You can do try Arlo, or you can enter a delivery order number and do the services. If you do try Arlo, what you can do here is you can basically do any kind of small stuff. So say we just want to do an AOS upgrade. We can put it in here. We can do start task. And this is where you can choose your AI providers. So we could choose any AI model. You can even do local ones. So if you have your own local AI endpoint, you can do that. This is going to become really, really common, probably in a year's time, I'd reckon, where customers will have their own AI endpoints. Arlo can then talk to them, and it means that their data is kept in-house and it's not going to be shared. We're not going to do a test environment. We're actually going to do a proper delivery. So we will put our delivery order number in here, and we will go continue. You can see here that it's found our delivery order number. So we'll then click pull to the VM. So what this is going to do is it's going to actually ingest that statement of work to our Arlo agent, and it's going to start the services for us. So we'll just go continue with save key. This was the key that we put into central. And then our project is going to start. So you'll see here, we're currently in the readiness phase. What we want to do first is we want to attach an SDK to it. So you can see here that we have the statement of work already. So it's pulled the statement of work in from Arlo Central, but we also want to attach some service delivery kits. So because this is a NUS deployment and a NKP deployment, we're going to attach both of these, and we'll set NKP as the default one. So it's going to work on the NKP docs, but it can also work on the others. So if we look at document deliverables, we can see our documents, right? So the documents are not generated yet. What will happen is when Arlo finishes the project, it will start actually creating the deliverables for us. So it can create them for NUS, and it can create them for NKP. You can also notice there's a custom documentation up here. This is pretty cool. So if you're a customer that wants a combined as-build, a combined configuration workbook, and combined test plan, you can do this here. And what it will do is Arlo will create its own document using AI. So it'll generate its own test plan, and it will generate its own as-build, and it will combine the entire architecture into a single document. So it's not going to use our SDKs, but it's going to use Nutanix branding for this. So this is really good if you have a design where you want multiple products compared or joined together, or you can just simply do the ones here as well. So if I just want an NKP configuration workbook built, I can do it here and generate it. So here we go. So now we go to the chat with Arlo. So Arlo is our AI agent that's going to do our services for us. So you can see here, Arlo's already read our statement of work, right? He's extremely efficient. So he knows that we need to deploy files. He knows that we need to deploy NKP, and he's going to start asking some questions about this engagement. So he's already read the statement of work, and he kind of already knows what we need to do. So what we'll do is we'll upload the pre-delivery questionnaire and configuration workbooks in the Documents tab. So Arlo's a good consultant, so he's asking for more documentation. So we'll go to the documents and we will actually upload them as well. So we'll just take this path here and we'll go upload document. So you can actually let Arlo read it, or you can actually choose what kind of document you want to do. So for this, we will assign the ones for the files. So we'll do the files one first. So we'll do the files deployment. We will call this it's kind of a pre-delivery questionnaire, right? And we will then upload it. So that's uploaded that one. We'll upload the rest of the documents. So we'll do a pre-delivery questionnaire for NKP. Upload. And then we'll upload the configuration workbook as well. So for this one, let's let Arlo read it and figure out what kind of document it is. So these documents are now all uploading. Arlo's going to start reading them, and he's going to kind of figure out how the project's going to work. So we'll go back to Arlo and we'll just tell him, hey Arlo, we uploaded the documents now. So Arlo will think, he'll read them. And what he's going to do here is these documents are going to get actually ingested into Chroma, because we don't want them to have to read the entire document the whole time, right? So the cool thing about ChromaDB is it's a really, really good way for AI models to be able to read how a document should look, right? So he's going to ingest this document, he's going to read it, and then he's going to figure out how the entire project is going to look. So this will take a while. So we'll just let him do this for a bit. So we're back now. As you can see, Arlo has actually read the statement of work and the pre-delivery questionnaires. So he knows exactly what we need to deploy and also the different phases for the project. So he split it out into 4 phases. There's the environment validation, files deployment. So he wants to do both in conjunction. So this is all the configuration that it pulled out from the configuration workbook. So I guess we can get started. So you should also be able to see in here progress. So what's happened here is from the configuration workbook and the statement of work, he's basically pulled out a kind of deployment plan. So we have environment validation, we have files deployment, NKP deployment, and then finally the handover. Another thing here, you can see all the different experience from the other engagement, which is going to be really helpful. So let's talk to Arlo and figure out what we need first. So I'm just going to answer some of the questions that he's been asking me. He's very, very good at reading the docs, right? So he picks up a lot of stuff. So if there's any kind of ambiguity or anything in the pre-delivery questionnaires or statement of work, Arlo will be very, very good at doing it properly. So I've just told him we're using NKP starter. So it's a combined NKP management plus workload cluster with no platform apps, DR or whatever. So what he'll do here is he'll persist the design facts and queue the readiness work. So this is quite good. What Arlo will do is he will always make sure that everything's written to a database. So we don't want the AI model to lose context, because if that happens, Arlo won't know what part of the project it is. So anytime there's something added, he'll write it into a database that gets put in the Arlo agent. So you can see here that Arlo is now going to request credentials to actually see the cluster. So what will happen here is This is quite cool. So we don't want to share credentials in a chat, right? So what it does here is it actually opens up a password kind of field, and we can put the passwords in. So this is really, really powerful because it means that the passwords are not going to be in plain text. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add both my public keys and my password. So this will save these credentials to our access vault. So all the passwords here are stored securely. So it means that these are not stored in plain text anyway, right? So it'll actually save them securely. So what Arlo is going to do now is he's going to connect to the cluster and just see how it's looking. So he's going to run some validation for us. So he's using the credentials we gave, and Arlo's going to start looking at the clusters and just figure out what's in them. So we can see here that Arlo hit a wall with logging in. So I'm just going to tell him how to do it properly. So we'll see whether this works. If these accounts are not working, I can actually go to a local account as well. So there could be something wrong with the account, so I think let's just give him a local account. So he's given us the Nutanix account. We'll just put in the Nutanix password here. So we should probably investigate that later to figure out why domain login is not working. Yeah, it worked for me, so maybe the password was wrong. We'll let Arlo work on the local one. So cool. Yep. You can see it locally. The other cool thing is deviation. So Arlo's already logged some deviation, so he knows that the product license is a starter. But the configuration workbook, we made a mistake here, right? We put the NKP Product Edition Essentials which is not a real edition. So you can see he's very, very thorough. If there's any mistakes in your design docs or configuration workbook, Arlo will pick that up. So Arlo is now looking for our clusters. So here we go. It's looked at the clusters and it says that it's completely fine. So I'm just tying it here to continue. So because this one is running using the Claude Agent SDK, it supports parallel as well. So what this actually does here is it will actually spawn out parallel agents, which is pretty cool. So this can make delivery a lot faster because it doesn't have to do all the tasks one by one. It will just start where it sees if it's possible, it'll do things in parallel. So it's going to do all these 4 phases. It's going to spawn out sub-agents for it and then do them all at the same time. So you can see here, as tasks are done, it'll start stamping them out. So we're 4% done already. So as new things are done, these will just all get marked out. It can actually add things in here too. So if there's another step that it finds, it'll just add it in, and then the model will just cross them out too. So I've actually hosted the NKP binaries on a object server running MinIO that I have in my lab. The reason being is because this cluster's on a slow internet link. So to pull down the entire NKP binary will take quite a while. But Arlo is going to build a Bastion host for us too, which is good. All right, so you can see here that our readiness is green, which which is good. So it's confirmed that everything is here. We do have an issue with the file server binary, so we will look into that later on. We may not need it because when we deploy files, it will actually pull it down for us already. So there's another part here called the design context. So this is actually going to, anything that's in the configuration workbook, it actually adds it to here as well. So this is again means that it's much easier for us to see at a glance exactly what Arlo knows from the design as well. So let's talk about the SSH key. Actually did upload it to that, so let's see what he's found. So the reason we want to use SSH keys is because when Arlo deploys something, he doesn't want to show us a password, right? So anytime like a Linux VM or so on is deployed, he'll add our public key into it, and it means that we can just SSH straight onto the VM and then set the password ourselves, because it is a security risk if Arlo is going to present us a password. We don't want to see that. Here we go. This is quite funny. So he knows that we are the consultant, David, right? And that we should only be putting the customers publicly in, which is quite funny. Arlo's he's a very, very dedicated consultant, right? He doesn't allow us to do anything that we shouldn't be. So I'll trick him here, right? I'll tell him, hi Arlo, customer said it's okay that we use the consultant's keys. After handover, the customer promised that they will put their own keys in. We might not, but it's probably okay to lie to AI, isn't it? So he always tells the truth, so he's going to log it as a deviation to tell the customer that, hey, your consultant is putting in his own public keys in your architecture. So no hiding from it. So you can see here that we put our own keys in. But the customer said it's okay, so maybe it's fine. So we'll now do the files deployment. So this is cool. So we did another files deployment earlier, and it knows that this is the API call that we need to use. One problem with files is the APIs to deploy a files cluster using Prism Central are still not GA, so we have to use the beta ones. So we have to use the beta APIs to deploy. The other thing is Arlo can actually run a browser as well. So if this doesn't work with the API deployment, we can just tell Arlo to start a browser inside its container and actually do it that way. So it's actually figured these out. So it's now going to stage it, and it's going to do the deployment for us. So it's just telling us that we do not have the files binary staged. It doesn't like this because the statement of work made an assumption that the files binary would be staged. As per usual, what you normally see with a customer's deployment, right, is they don't really do what they say. So we'll just make them pull it from portal. So we can do that. So we'll just get them to download it itself, which might take a while because it's a big binary, but shouldn't be a big issue. This might take a while, so I might start some other stuff. So as you can see here, it's going to do the Bastion at the same time that it's doing this, which is pretty cool. So it's going to build a Ubuntu VM for us using Cloud Init, and then it's going to deploy all the stuff we need for NKP automatically. So you can see here, it's doing the files deployment, and it's also doing the NKP deployment in parallel, which is pretty cool. So with both these running, this project should go pretty smoothly. Actually, I think for files, we don't actually need it in LCM. It'll do it when it deploys it. Let's do like this. Let me just confirm that. So if we go to files, and create one. So if we go new file server, you can actually see it here. It actually puts it in. So we don't actually need it. So you can see that it's actually created the VM for us at the same time. So if we look back here, yep, there we go. So it's built our Bastion host for us. So it's going to fire it up. So you can see this is quite powerful, right? You can just get it to do things in parallel as well. So there's no real need to wait for it to finish one thing. You can just keep telling it to do stuff. It'll spawn out agents as this happens. So it's still just trying to bring up the VM. Here we go. It's connected. So see the console of the VM here. Yep, it's done. But we don't need to log on to it. So let's try and get the files deployment done. So we don't actually need to SSH, so we'll just let Arlo control the keys here. I should have put in the right key. So Arlo is going to try to actually create a file server in the UI. I haven't actually done this yet, so I'm interested to see if it works. If not, we will have to have a look at the API again. Because the APIs for files are beta, it's a bit of a struggle to do it. So it's going to fire up a browser session inside the Arlo agent. We can't actually see it, but he will do it. And then he's going to provision files that way. The other cool thing is that since Arlo can run a browser, it means that for a test plan, you can do things like screenshots, which is actually quite good. So hopefully Arlo can SSH into his own VM, otherwise so I'll try this, see if this works. So he did make a mistake. He should have put in the key, but he didn't. So let's just see if this works. Let's see if he can figure this out. Cool, I think it worked. So that's definitely a finding for Arlo, to make sure that he puts his keys in as well, and he can't just depend on mine. But, I think that works, so we may not need to recreate the VM. Cool, he's in. Nice. So you can see here that Arlo, he tried to do the browser, but he doesn't like it that it's using too many API credits, so he's going to try it with the API path. So he's looking at developer portals just to find out what the APIs are. So Arlo also has a feature where he can actually search our Nutanix developers portal, and he can pull all the API endpoints from there, which is quite useful. Cool, so it's found the endpoint for us. So let's just see if it works. So we'll say fast client on the service network and the storage network on the CDM. Let's make it 1 terabyte. We will use version. We can see here that it has an issue with the NTP for some reason. So for some reason, it won't allow us to use the Cloudflare for it. So we'll try the DNS one. I haven't seen this bug before, so. So we'll use the same DNS server as NTP as well. It should work because it's a Windows NTP box or Windows AD controller. Let's start this. This is one problem when you use APIs that aren't GA yet. There's always issues with them. So. Cool, so it looks like I managed to solve the NTP issue. We should probably actually add that as a learning, so the next time that we need to create a file server, it's going to know. That's a good thing about Arlo, right? The more it learns, the smarter next engagements will get. We should be able to see this progressing now. And here we go, cool. So the file server has started. It's actually done the deployment of the file server. And I'll get Arlo to log this as a finding, so that finding will go to central, and it will know next time that anytime anyone wants to create a file server using the API, this is how it's supposed to be done. So we can just watch the tasks happening here. This might take a while, has to mount the image and so on. So. Alright, so you can see here that it's added a bug and a runbook pattern for creating a files cluster. So next time this is done, we should not have the same problem. can see here for each of the findings in the engagement, they all get logged here. So what we can do is we can actually promote these. And what this means is these will get pushed to Arlo Central. So it means that any more engagements that happen, anyone doing files will then know exactly how to do it. So it's documented the entire end-to-end for how files gets done, which is going to be very, very useful. You can also see here that there's a knowledge base sync, and it will sync those when we click that. But we'll do it at the end. So this is all really good information. Of course, you don't want all of the findings pushed, so it doesn't do it by default. It's only if you go promote. Otherwise, they will just get stored on this local Arlo agent. So files are still doing. Bastion is still done. So I think let's go to NKP. The cloud init for Bastion is probably finished, so we can get Arlo to set up NKP while files is deploying for us. Cool, so Bastion's done. So let's proceed with NKP. So it's just installed the NKP CLI. So we have a 10 gig network, so I can pull it pretty quick. These numbers here, so you'll see like the UIDs here. These are basically the stages that are stored in the database. So it knows, like say that our agent crashed or the AI agent restarted, it knows exactly what it's done by all these markers, which is quite useful. So files is still deploying. So it's good we can do NKP at the same time, so it will speed up this project a bit. Cool, so the bundle's done, but it's just got to calculate the SHA-256 on it. It's not a fast cluster, so it knows that we have slow internet because we put that in the configuration workbook, so it's going to stand up a local registry for us and deploy from the local registry. So you can see here, anytime it has to refer to any kind of document, it will just put it in sources, which is pretty cool. So again, we'll just do all these three at the same time to save some time. So it's just going to verify that the NKP image is in PC, which I know it is. It's going to stand up the local OCI registry for the Bastion host for NKP, and then it's going to repoll files and log the deviation because we told it to change the NTP server. In the real world, I'll probably do a lot of this myself, but we just want to see how far we can get Arlo to do the whole lot for us and be lazy and let AI do the work for us. So here we go. It's stood up the local OCI registry for us, and it's pushing NKP for that bundle. And then when that's done, we can actually start the NKP deployment. Great. So NKP is ready to deploy. So we're just going to tell it to double check the cluster name. I think we documented that, but let's just take a look. Ah, look at that. File server's almost done, which is good. So Arlo didn't pick up the NKP cluster name at the start, so I'm just telling it to please reread the design and check that it's great. Yeah, there we go, cool. So it's lucky we actually checked the design because the working memory is 16 gig, not 32. So always a good idea to check the design before deploying anything. So it looks like our files is done. Let's just double check. Yep, there we go. So our file server is successfully deployed, so we can tell Arlo to create the shares now for us as well. Just say to reuse my key. So you can see here it actually logged the deviation for our DNS too. So I might tell it to finish off files while we're doing KP at the same time. Cool. So NKP is going ahead, and we're doing files now too. So it's also looked up the platform findings for the search. Sorry for adding shares. Oh, we forgot to do DNS. I'll get Arlo to do that too. So Arlo can also do stuff on Windows servers, so I'll tell it to do that. So let's tell it to create the DNS for us. So, forgot to do DNS. This is kind of normal stuff you see with a customer, right? They often forget how to, or often forget to do the DNS entries. For me, I can give you access to the Windows server to let's ask for a user account for it, so we'll just give it the same one that I had before. So it wants to create our DNS entries for us, both for NKP and for files. So it's good. It can actually reach the Windows server over WinRM, which is nice. So to connect over it and add our DNS entries to us in Windows DNS. So it's kind enough to show us exactly what it's going to do in PowerShell. Cool. So it's authenticated and it's going to add the A records for us. It looks like we forgot the FQDN, so let's just get it to do the names for us. So yeah, it looks like that was successful. It added the DNS entries for us. So we have an issue. NFS hasn't been turned on, so it's looking at our developers portal to figure out how to turn on NFS for the file server. So we do have one issue of files. We needed to create it with NFS enabled. So what I'll do is I'm just going to do this on the GUI to push it along further. So notice next time he logged a lesson to say that when we create a file server, make sure that you turn it on. So let's promote that finding. Yeah, unfortunately there's no known API to do that. So we'd have to delete it and then recreate it, which we really don't want to do. So we just turned it on for him. So now Arlo's going to create the shares now for us. Cool. So the Arlo's just created the shares for us. So our shares are done. That's a nice and quick thing once you have the right configuration done. And our NKP cluster is on stage. So it's pulled the bootstrap and it's going to bootstrap our cluster soon. As you can see, most of the time it's spent waiting, which is normal, waiting for things to happen. If the hardware was faster, this would be a lot quicker. Cool, so our shares are done. But we have an issue with NKP, so he's going to fix it up and retry it. So it looks like NKP deployment's happening now. So that'll take us a few minutes. So we can see here it has another finding that when you create an NKP cluster, make sure it's case sensitive. So it's saying use the UID or the case name. So let's promote that finding too. That's going to be very useful. And we'll just let this run. It's going to take a while to push NKP. Once that's done, the next things will be we need to configure CSI storage for files, the storage classes, the AD IDP integration, do some sample workloads, test amount of a share, and then the documentation and knowledge transfer to finish off. We can see now that it's actually doing the NKP deployment now, which is awesome. So you can see here it's creating all our NKP VMs. So we just need to wait for this to finish. It will take quite a while to do that. We'll just tell Arlo now, ask him how long it's gone, or how the NKP is coming along. Alright, so it's still building. We just have to be patient. So you can see all the files is done, and the NKP is moving along. So about 40% done at the moment. Let's ask Arlo if there's anything to do in parallel. So I think there's some firewall issues. It's probably just a local firewall because these subnets are both wide open. So there's no microseg turned on. I'm assuming just a local firewall from something. So we'll just let Arlo figure it out for itself. Because these subnets are both wide open. So there's no microseg turned on. I'm assuming just a local firewall from something. So we'll just let Arlo figure it out for itself. Alright, so latest update. It mounted the shares just to test them, and its commander is now installing. should see the test plans here. So I just asked Arlo to prep them. I think he forgot. So that's good news. Our NKP is provisioned. And it's just putting the apps up now. Yeah, so he has to seed the cases. So he's going to do that for us now, and then they should show up in the test plan. So we have an issue with the test cases. I didn't wire up the test plan stuff, but we can still do the test plans directly in the document. It's just not going to show here, which is okay. We do have an issue with the NKP deployment. So the NKP create has stalled, but it's found the problem and it's trying to fix it itself. So it looks like there's a GitHub issue with it. So we'll just let it run and solve it. So we found an issue in deployment. And Arlo gave us some issues on how to do it. I might see if we can diagnose it a bit better for us. So the install timed out. So we'll diagnose it first, and then we can actually switch to offline bootstrap as well, because it's pulling down a lot from GitHub and it might just be timing out. I would really like to see a bit exactly what's going on here. So this is kind of hilarious. It found an issue with the script that's actually used to pull it down for NKP. So we'll let Arlo try and diagnose it for us. So normally during a deployment, this is the kind of stuff the consultant would have to troubleshoot themselves. Having Arlo do it for you just makes it significantly easier, because AI is very, very good at troubleshooting problems. So I think because of the timing, we'll just switch to offline bootstrap. We should have done that early, actually. Specified as an air gap because it's a slow WAN link, so it has to pull a bit too many files, actually. So we can do that. All right, so it's redoing the install with air gap mode. So hopefully that passes. Should do. It's a problem with a small, slow internet pipe. So we'll just check the progress now. So now it's going to set all the apps up. Yeah, so it's going to be a bit of wait time, so we'll tell Arlo just to do a bit of housekeeping work for us. So NKP is 10 minutes in to deploy the apps, and the housekeeping is done. So it's started up the activity log with this, and there was no findings for CSR and files runbook. So what we might do is we might do a portal search here. So Arlo can actually search the portal and find documents for us. So that'll really tell us that it's going to be the right ones. So I'll tell now. So this is just a prereq. I mean, it's not really needed, but it's probably good to have just a doc so it knows exactly what it needs to do for it. So yeah, it's going to do a portal search. So Arlo just finished its portal search on how to configure AD for NKP, and it's shown us exactly what it's going to do here, which is pretty awesome. So you can see here it pulled all these different documentations on how to do it, which is the cool thing with this is you can even click it yourself and just validate it, right? So it knows that these are the KBs because it did a portal search. We can click it ourselves and we can actually read it too. So yeah, that's one very cool feature of Arlo is the documentation search, just to make sure everything's all good. So we'll get it to test all the AD stuff first. So the reason we want to do this is we want to hook our NKP cluster into Active Directory. All right, so the air gap install is complete. So all 22 applications are ready, and the AD is working as well. So it just diagnosed that the AD is all fine. And yep, that is mirror domain admins. That's smart lab environment, so it's normal. So we can change that. So we'll get it to now do the AD integration and the CSI install. So some pretty good progress there. So a couple of issues here. We have to assign a different IP because it wasn't in the pool. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do an IP change for the middle LB pool. And also it needs to pull down the CSI bundle. So the CSI bundle wasn't actually included for files in the original bundle, so we just need to pull that down, which shouldn't be a big issue. So we'll just use the Helm chart to get that down. So it's pulled the Helm charts for the CSI storage, and the dashboard is up. So it has the wrong IP, so it's going to fix that for us now. And then it's going to do the install for the CSI storage drivers now. So I'll just let that run. All right, so moving on here, we can see that we successfully configured the CSI driver for files. So there was a bit of confusion. It was trying to do the endpoint as files, but the endpoint's actually Prism Central. So it was using the wrong docs, but it found the right configuration to do it. So we now have our files deployed, and it's validated. So it did a 1 gig PVC via PC Files Manager. So it logged the endpoint, it logged the findings for this as well to say that for the files key, the endpoint is PC, not the file server, despite what the public doc example shows. And now we've just created 2 storage classes and volume snapshot classes. Plus we configured Active Directory on our Kubernetes cluster as well. So this is great. So everything's done. So we have volumes, files done, AD is configured, the login is done as well. And now we just need to do the validation. So I'll get him to do the validation for us now. So now we're getting, now that everything's done, we just want to do a bit of validation. So I just realized we haven't actually logged in yet. So now that NKP is joined to the domain, we can actually use this here and log straight on. So this should pull up the AD logon for NKP. Oh, it's already synced. So you can see that I'm logged in with my user. So this is AD authenticated. Actually, let me share this in incognito so you can actually see that it will do a proper login for us. Yep. So you can see here it's doing an AD login. So Arlo created AD authentication for our NKP, which is pretty awesome. So we can log on here and we can check that everything's working. So here we go. So we can see our clusters here, our infrastructure provider for credentials. So Active Directory is configured. So Arlo did this all for us. Normally this is a bit of a pain to set up, so it's quite nice that it was all done for us. And we can see our one cluster here. So this is a combined management plus workload cluster for NKP. So there's no separate workload clusters yet, just because I have some resource issues. So I don't have enough resources in my clusters, so we'll just have a single cluster for both management and workloads. So that's great. So it's all configured. So it's just doing some changes for CSI, and then it's going to create the as-built documentation, and it's then going to do our test plans, and then this project will be finished. So it looks like everything's done. There was a small thing with the findings for files, but that's just due to the fact that we didn't use NFS v4, but it works with a single one, which is okay. So what we're going to try here now is to generate the documents. So we'll go with custom documentation on this. So let's just try and try a configuration workbook. So what we can do here is we can use an AI generated one. So we could either do the ones in our SDK, which have already been generated, but let's actually do one using custom documentation. So you can see how this looks. So this will be a combined NUS plus NKP document. So we'll just let this generate. So the configuration workbook was generated. Let's download it and take a look at it. So here's our config workbook. So this was fully done by AI. So you can actually see the name of it, and it's documented all the details here. So this is our cluster docs, our networking. It's put all the subnets in and so on for Kubernetes. The storage for CSI, storage classes, and so on. Also the files design, so we can see how the files was configured. NKP, so all the NKP configuration for us. Identity and RBAC, all the services that were built on NKP. Any kind of deviations we had. So there's some design deviations we put, and also the references. So very, very nicely done here with the configuration workbook. So let's try some other docs so we can look at the test plan that was generated already. So we'll open up the test plan document. So again, this is a completely custom built document that was done by the AI model. So this is a test plan document it generated for us to show the tests that were done and what's in scope. So it's saying that for these ones we want them to be done manually, which makes sense. It's probably a good thing for the client to check these. For the functional test, it's done them, and it says the cluster status is normal, redundancy factor, networking is all done, and to check the NTP source, so it wants us to do that for it. Shows all the shares online. The NKP configuration is all done. Storage and CSI and ingress. So all these test plans are completely custom. The AI model will decide what test plans are needed when it's done. If we wanted to do another one, we could have done one from our SDK as well. So we'll also look at we'll generate the handover summary, and we'll look at the as-build too. So again, this will be a combined as-build document. Yes, finally. So now we have a good as-build document. So this will just show the deployment overview. So what was created, the software versions, and the fact that we built the Bastion host, the hypervisor, or the NKP configuration, and it also includes the files as built as well. All the networking configuration, NKP config, and the Prism Central configuration. And then the security design, so showing how all the configuration is working too. Also documented the CSI drivers, storage classes configured for NKP, the file shares created on NUS, and any design deviations. So this is a good thing that we could hand back to the architect to just say, hey, this would probably need to be fixed in the design phase. So that basically covers how a deployment was done end to end. So there's a few outstanding things, but they're just small deviations, which is always the case, right? Every time you do any kind of deployment, there's always going to be issues and so on. As you can see here, our API cost was about $146, and the progress should be done about now. So yep, everything's marked off. Oh, actually, sorry, there's a handover. So let's get Arlo to do the handover for us. So it's a good idea to do a handover. While that loads, I'll just show you how Arlo Central is going to log. So as you can see, it's logged that engagement at the moment, so it's still in the execution phase. It took about 2.8 hours to do it. Most of the time was spent waiting, which was fairly quick. It was a lot faster than the other deployments I did. So the first one was about 9.2 hours. And you can see that the test rate's 100%, and so on. So looking pretty good. So these will slowly get faster and faster as Arlo learns more. And we can see all our lessons learned are coming through as well. So these were all the ones that we sent from Arlo Agent through to Arlo Central. So next time this same project is done, you'll see them start to come on here too. So we'll just let Arlo do the handover. So he'll basically tell us how we do a handover call, show us how to do the knowledge transfer and so on. Unfortunately, Arlo can't speak yet, so we have to have a human to do a handover session. So there was another thing that I wanted to go through. It was the knowledge. So during this engagement, Arlo actually prompt for the portal documentations. So anytime it does a portal doc, it actually adds them in here. So most of the knowledge it gathered from this session was actually stuff from other engagements that was stored in Chroma, but it also did portal searches for us too. So it looked up the NKP identity providers, the Active Directory LDAPs integration, and how to configure external LDAP as well. So very, very cool. And you can see a link to the docs there too. So anything that it pulls during a run will actually get put in here as a knowledge source. So this is also good for the consultants to see. I'm just getting it to give us a knowledge handover. So it's just telling us that all the documents have been generated. So we've had the as build, the configuration workbook, and the handover summary all generated for us. The sign off has been done. It did raise a few blockers that we had, so it's told me again, hey, take that key off. And it's also said that the licenses were out of scope. So we said in the statement of work that licensing was not part of the scope for it. So it's now told us, so I asked Arlo, can you please give us a knowledge transfer session? I shared the test plan and the as-build, the customer liked it. So it's given us a script, which what a consultant would do to run through, right? So it's telling us what the orientation is, what NKP is and what's deployed, showing us all the URLs to open. So open this up to sign in, with the member of the AD group that Arlo configured for us, go to the dashboard, show the cluster creation, show the workspaces, show a demo, show how the AD integration looks and works, do a demo, and how tokens are configured. So it's given us basically an entire guide that we would then share with the customer to do as part of handover. And then a wrap-up checklist, so everything's all done. So let's sign off. I'll just tell Arlo that this was recorded. It's recorded for a demo. So we can ask him to do a kind of self-assessment. You think you would do better this time? It's always fun to ask AI what they would do better next time. So let's see what he says about this. So the other thing I want to share is this engagement was pretty quick. So it was only 2.8 hours to do both an NKP and a NUS install, including the documentation, hand over the lot. So in terms of a time taken for PS, that is crazy fast. Normally this kind of engagement would take days. So you can really see how AI delivery coupled with consulting and delivery can really speed up things, right? So instead of doing it all manually, which would normally take a few days, using AI to do the deployment for you really speeds it up. So here we go. Arlo's given himself a self-assessment. So he's saying that next time he'll catch the scope and gaps at readiness. So all done. Thanks a lot for your time and watching this video. Hope it was very informative.